When America moved to the city in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, crime skyrocketed. Immigrants and poor factory workers lived in tenement apartments in neighborhoods known as slums. Due to close quarters, poor living conditions, and ethnic divisions, crime increased almost exponentially. Some rose to power by distributing food, water, medicine, and blankets in return for votes in elections, but they never tried to fix the problem or alleviate the symptoms. When Prohibition began in 1919, the stage was set for the rise of opportunistic gangsters. An apt example of an infamous mobster of this time was Al Capone. Born in 1899 to Italian immigrants, Alphonse Capone is one of the most notorious mobsters in history. Capone was involved in a predominantly Italian criminal enterprise called the 5 Points Gang. During Capone's reign, rivalries with other gangsters resulted in bloody gang wars. Capone's arch rival was George "Bugs" Moran, the leader of an Irish group known as the North Side Gang. Throughout the 20s, they participated in the bloody gang wars of Chicago to gain control of the underground alcohol industry. Due to an escalation in mob violence, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre occurred. On February 14, 1929, 7 men from Moran's gang were lined up facing a wall and were executed by a firing squad. Moran himself was on his way to the warehouse where it occurred and missed death by mere seconds. The massacre effectively ended Moran's gang and resulted in Capone's unchallenged rule of Chicago. This massacre was the result of ethnic rivalry. Irish and Italian men joined opposing gangs because of their ethnicities and ultimately waged war because of it. In 1919, when the states ratified the 18th Amendment and Congress passed the Volstead Act, the production, sale, and consumption of alcohol was prohibited. Powerful gangsters like Al Capone quickly became adept at producing alcohol and selling it at speakeasies, or clubs where you purchase and consume illegal alcohol. Some catered to the rich and opulent, while others catered to the poor. In any case, gangsters used their money to produce more alcohol, operate more speakeasies, and bribe the police to look the other way. This led the way for their profits to rise exponentially and for rivalries between gangsters to fester. Capone himself is estimated to have made more than $100 million in a year at the high point of his empire. Automobiles also made it easier for the criminals to escape and hide from the police. However, gangsters did not only come to power through alcohol. Gangs had existed for decades before Prohibition and originally were known for their roles in casinos, gambling, drugs, and red light districts. With the advent of Prohibition, organized crime began to bribe both policemen and politicians. They also extorted millions of dollars from the film and automobile industries and blackmailed powerful and wealthy people. According to John Landesco's article, Prohibition and Crime, published in 1932, gang wars and homicides decreased when organized crime came into power. From 1923 to 1927, the rate of homicides per 100,000 people decreased from 5.7 to 4.4. He states that the reason for this is that the gangs were more organized and therefore less unruly and violent. When leadership of the gangs passed hands, violence often broke out. Capone saw much violence during his reign because his two preceders, Colissimo and Torrio, were both shot before passing the mantle of King of Chicago to Capone. From the production of illegal alcohol to bloody gang wars, the 1920s saw an increase in organized crime. Police were bribed, politicians corrupted, wealthy and influential people coerced, and the people happily drank beer in closed, smoke-filled, crowded, and cramped rooms. Ethnic rivalries and competition for power, money, and influence led to ethnically segregated gang wars, while the demand for illegal alcohol lined illegal smugglers' pockets. The cause and effects of gang wars such as ethnic rivalries, senseless bloodshed, and political corruption all benefited the gangster, but by the 30s, the American people had said enough. Today, there may still be a mob, but they don't have every mayor, town alderman, and school teacher in their back pockets.